things I wanted to do was get this transmission tower on the bike. This one here, I don't know how the heck you would do that, but this whole tower top half busted right off. And I'll pop the camera over here and give you some close-ups. And there's some other little bits and pieces in here that I ordered from Jerry Gear on the old interweb. So I need those pieces in order to continue. And I'll explain why. I discovered that, let me pick up some pieces here. That should be enough to show you. Let me come on up here and show you what we got. So this here's the transmission tower, and I'll show you the one on the bike wick. You can see how this is all just, I don't know, you got to hit that with something pretty hard to snap that off, but there it is, it's not there. So what I've got here, and I'll show you, is this is the tower, and this would be the cam side of the bike. And this here this is what sticks in here, and it operates this belt crank back and forth. Let me get that right. So this sticks inside the little jammy there, and that's how the bike shifts like that. And then this here, with some bushings and stuff, there you are, with some bushings and stuff, this is how it sits in the bike. Now I remember a couple episodes back, I was like, I don't know how they did this, if Larry welded something on. So obviously, this is just the shaft by itself, and it's got a keyway cut, and now that I got my milling machine running, well, I can take care of that myself. But this here, all you gotta do is just take it and go like that. You'll have to cut the keyway here for this to fit on. This would go on like this. This a barrel pin fits into that keyway area. And I don't know if I'm gonna get this on right now. So I need to clean this up. So we'll do it later, but I'll have to get this on here, cut my keyway in that area, and this will sit in there just like so. And then I bought the bell crank end from Jerry Gear to weld on the jockey shift handle. Larry had the homemade jockey shift handle on there, but then we can shift this bike. So until I get all those bits and pieces, I can't do this. I wanted to film something for you guys because, well, what happened is I went so far as I could on the Beatnik Bandit. I work on my customer Jerry's car, and then I bounced back on the Beatnik Bandit, and I start that little three project cycle over and over again. But I got stymied on Jerry's car because of parts. So I figured I'd jump on this, and I don't have these parts, so what are we going to do? I guess Larry had an S&S carburetor on the intake manifold. Give me a second, we'll get some stuff and I'll show you. So on the Indian Chiefs and stuff, and like on Harley 45s, the carburetor's on the left side. But I'm showing you this side because we got to get this intake manifold off. So if I can't do the transmission tower, I got to make an intake manifold. Why? Well, because Larry ran one of these brick kind of S&S carburetors. This is Super B, which was donated to the project by Steg von Heinz. And for anybody that's up on Indian Larry history, Paul Cox, myself, Larry, Steg, and a fellow named Frank, we all worked down on Rivington Street in the Lower East Side, and a shop called Psycho Cycles back in my Iron Horse magazine days. So, and I've always said, and like I've said time and time again, this is really, it's a very personal project. It's a project that I've always loved this bike. It's a project I'm doing for that fact on itself, but it's for all of us. Paul Cox and Steg and Hugh Mackey at 6th Street Specials and Pete the landlord and everybody that was around at that time. You know, there was no real internet stuff and there weren't any reality TV shows. We were just a bunch of guys, you know, just hanging out in the Lower East Side building motorbikes, man. So I'm proud that Steg is part of the project. But we got to make this S&S carburetor now fit this bike. So we got to get this off. Now, one thing I did notice that these are 1 inch and 13/16 nuts that hold this intake manifold on. And if you buy the wrench from Jerry Gear, it's $55. So I made this wrench. You guys, you Patreon members, the guys who I so appreciate, and without you guys this shit doesn't happen, I'm not going to piss away your Patreon money on a $55 wrench. So what I did was I took a piece of 1/4 inch plate steel and I made this. And because I got the milling machine running, I could cut this really nice, and it works. So this goes right on, and we can I think it goes on. There we go. And there we go. So we'll get this off, and we'll have to go buy some aluminum tubing, and we're going to make ourselves an intake manifold. Yeah, let's see what we got. Getting this old crusty, rusty stuff off of here. So, like you can see, like I said, that top gusset there is all busted off. Now I'm sure somebody with, like I said, a milling machine and a lathe, you could just build that up with weld and still use it. So, not like I'm throwing it out. And there's these, looks like brass bushings in there and stuff. So I gotta take this apart, and I'm gonna have to run out and go grab myself some aluminum tubing. And like I said, make this cross piece, and we're gonna have to drill it to take a tube coming out, you know, X, Y, and the Z. And then you can see that little orifice on the original Indian compared to that, oh, there we are, that giant hole on the S&S carburetor. So we gotta make this we gotta make this somehow. Where are you? There you are. So I gotta get this to somehow get together like that. Remember the old, the Mother's panhead intake manifolds? That's probably what I need for this, but hey, I'm gonna end up making it because I'll probably never find one of those. So, all right, let's move on and see what we got. All right, gang, so what I've got here is like $60 worth of aluminum that I hope is gonna be an intake manifold. So now, I got all my components and pieces and stuff that I need. I got my paper and pencil to do my maths, and well, what we're gonna have to do is, I didn't have a tube that was the same OD as this, 1 5/8, so I had to go a little bit bigger, 1 3/4. So I have to cut this to length and then shave this down to be the same OD as this here area, the actual manifold area, and then I got to shoulder it for where the brass gaskets go, and that's on backwards, isn't it now? And then that would go on there like that, just kind of slips on, and then this goes on to make the seal. So I got to machine this up. And once that's done, got another piece of tube that I'll have to drill into this on the milling machine with a hole saw and get this to sit nice. And that'll be my, like I said, this is XY, and this will be my Z axis. And then I've got a flat piece of 1/4" aluminum that I'll have to make a flange for the carburetor to bolt to. So it won't look this big and stupid, but you get the idea. Alright gang, so this is what I've got for an intake manifold. And I actually got to weld it all together and stuff now. This is the right length. I got to make a carburetor flange still, so she'll hang off like so. And I got this all cleaned up nice, and I got this as the best I could I had to put this together like so, make a pencil mark inside, then pull it back out and Dremel these edges here. And I got to clean them up still a little bit, but I want to get this down on here. Put it like this here, a couple pieces of steel, wedge it up against there, and keep it square. And then I got to tack weld it and go ahead and, you know, I don't want to go too hot and warp anything maybe, but I'll tack weld it in a couple spots, and I'll just keep going back over it and clean it up. Well, there you go, guys. I got that welded together. Quite a difference from the OG Indian for the Linkert. And I still got to put the flange on here for the S&S. Looks like an old panhead intake. But man, I got this asbestos glove on. This thing is hotter than Hell's Kitchen in July in New York City. But there you go. Not too shabby for a do-it-yourself piece. And I bought some 1/4-inch plate here, this here stuff, and I'm thinking I gotta go a little bit thicker. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna have to be, I'm thinking maybe 1/2 inch or quite possibly 3/8. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna let this thing cool off, and I'm gonna run up to the old metal supply yard and get another piece of plate that's more thickerer than this one. So we'll come on back and we'll make a flange for the S&S. Hey! Alright gang, so I've got my intake manifold. And last part you saw was me putting the step in here. And I got a little zealous and I went ahead and welded the flange on. And you can see that there. But one thing I forgot when I was doing this. And I should have welded the flange onto this tube before I put this tube onto the crossover, because I've got this gnarly step in there. And I'm not really thrilled and excited about that. Bike will probably run fine, but not that you can see it. On the outside of this tube, this went from, I don't remember the measurement, but it went from like 1 inch or whatever, and it tapers a little bit bigger toward this end. And I should have done that on the interior. Right now, right here, it's really ridiculously thick, and it could only be like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch thick. It would be fine. So what I've got from my fly cutter is this bit and chuck. What am I thinking? But I've got this replaceable bit on this arm. Now this should be able to go in here and cut that taper for me pretty deep, till about midway. So it'll kind of, I don't know what kind of performance value this has, probably none at all, but it'll make me feel better. So it'll taper it in and then go straight and cross over to the, hey, it's a flathead. How good's it gonna breathe anyway? And with that Super B carburetor in there, it's stuffing gas in there like the big guy at the free Chinese buffet, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is probably, I'm gonna cut this right here so I can chuck this up in my lathe. That's what I get for going ahead and welding that on straight away. Well, actually welding it together here. I didn't think it through. This is what happens when you wing it. And I wing most of this stuff, the Beatnik Bandit clone and this. But I'd feel a lot better if I just go ahead and taper this so it's more of a funnel. And yeah, you know. And it's no big deal because I can go ahead and you know, just dress off the welds and everything. It's not going to really hurt anything and whatnot. And it's just going to be the way it is. So that's what I reckon we're going to do to get rid of that ridiculous slip there. Otherwise I'm in there with a Dremel. It's not going to be nice. I can do a nicer job on the lathe. Alright guys, I did end up cutting the manifold in 2 pieces. I'm silly like that. OCD and everything, I guess. But I did, tell you what I did, is I put this on my rotary table on the milling machine and I got that nice and flush and flat as I did this side here. So they will go together pretty sweet now. I have to bevel these edges and I'll do a nice weld on those there. And I did get the inside of that, if you remember what it looked like, I'm pretty sure I showed you, it had that step. Look at that nice thing now, huh? I see you. Yeah. So there you go. It's nice now to get this glove off. There's a very slight ridge in here because I can only reach just so far in there. So I kept my my tooling like this, and it would go in, it would cut, and I was going on an angle. And I got so far, it's as far as I could reach, and started making that step. So from this angle, I came back, I made it a little bit more drastic and I cut again, came out, made it more drastic and cut again to meet the very outside lip here. So this inner part, in essence, this is going to be exaggerated so you know, but in essence goes like this. Where am I? There we are. So instead of just going on an angle like this, it kind of has a nice little curve, like a bell to it. Not that it's very noticeable, but hey, it's the right thing instead of having that brick freaking wall sitting there like I had it. So what I'm going to do, enough talk, let's get some work done. What I'm going to do here now is, before I go chamfering these edges to weld it, I think when I go to weld it, I'm going to machine a piece of steel that I can slip inside to keep that all centered and whatnot. But until then, if you remember watching me do the Beatnik Bandit build, you guys are motorcycle guys. I don't know if you venture over my other YouTube episodes, but I bought these barrel sanders. So I've got this one here, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, get rid of that little bit of a step in the back, and you can see, you know, some of the ridges that were left by the tooling. I'm not the greatest machinist guy in the world, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this pedestal, and we're going to shove this in there. We're going to try and sand that and make it all nice. Now the sandpaper gets really beat really quick because it gets clogged up with the aluminum. I'm sure you can see that. But I got that ridge pretty much gone. I just wanted to show you guys. Just a little bit of work. You know, we're going to get this. And it's looking better and better. I'm going to change out my paper. And it's only been like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's sanded pretty good. Change out my paper and it'll go in there, and that should probably just finish that off. Alrighty. And hey man, I think it looks really good. So there you go. That's really, man, it was worth the effort to take it apart. But now we got to weld this thing back together. Alright, this is just some round stock I had, and I shouldered off the one side of it because obviously the inside of this tapers. So I'm just going to put this together. So let this bad boy slip right in there, and you can see how much that sticks out. That'll sit in that side, and that'll keep me right where I gotta be. So I gotta set this up on the table now so we can weld it. It's really freaking hot, but I'll have to let this cool off, and I'll show you the rest of it later. I guess, oh, I let that cool off. I'll go outside and cut my grass for a while. Alright guys, I am admiring my beautiful work. I took my little finger sander and I knocked down as much of these welds on here as I could, and I want to show it to you. And I don't think she looks too shabby. Doesn't look as perfect as an S&S, but hey man, it is what it is. It's homemade, and it's going to be nice. So once you get it polished, it'll look better because it'll be shiny. So I'm very excited, because what we're going to do now is we're going to put this bad boy on. And I need a little bit of a file. I got to clean up these nuts here and get these nuts and then these little brass compression fittings on. And we'll go on over to the bike and we're going to mount this manifold. My custom wrench. Oh yeah! That's too bad, man. She looks pretty good, and I don't want to go nuts cranking this thing down and making it super tight, because I got to get the carburetor on here, and from the middle engine case bolt stud up to the intake manifold, I got to make a strap to support the weight of that S&S Super B. And yeah, that's what I got to do. So I got to get the bike level, make sure the intake manifold isn't pointing which way or that way. So when I make that bracket to support it, it's at the right length. So let me go ahead and get some hardware and stuff and get set up to bolt the carb on. And I'll take a couple measurements and stuff to figure out what that strap's going to look like. Well, all right, lads, I guess that's that. We've got an intake manifold and the Super B carburetor that was given to me by Steg von Heinz, one of the guys I worked with at Cycles with Indian Larry. And like I always say, it's great to have all the guys that were around then be part of this project. It makes it extra special for me, and I hope for them also. But that's it. It doesn't seem like it would have been such a big deal. Bolting everything together is like yada 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 yada, no big deal. But making that intake manifold, hey, first time I ever did it, and I'm glad I got the milling machine working to make that $30 to $50 something wrench I didn't want to spend the money on. So hey, and it works great, Looks good. Looks like the genuine real deal article. If there is one that Larry did, I'll show you some pictures of the bike. Get some good shots of that, the carb on the side there if you can see it. And here's another one here. See if I can't get that in there so you guys can check it out at home. And let me flip the pages here. Here's another one. And I got my little support bracket down here. I'm sure you guys picked up on that. It's just a piece of strap steel. You didn't need to see me, drill 2 holes. And there you go there. You can see it there, and you can see all the Russell steel braided fittings Larry had. They're a pain in the ass, so. But we're gonna have to do it, And see if there's any other pictures of the intake and carb. Not really. But that's it. We're all done. I think it looks great, and I'm really happy with it. So what are we going to do next? I guess I will go ahead next episode and we'll do this transmission tower and we'll make that jockey shift handle because I got all my parts from Jerry Gear the other day. So I'll be able to, stumble forward and get that done. Hey, I really appreciate it. Thanks guys for watching. This is for everybody. I hope you're enjoying it. Throw some comments out there. If I can improve something, let me know. And hey, we're all in this together, as they say, right? So I'm just doing all the dirty work. You guys are having coffee and cookies and enjoying watching. As always, if you can, let the ads run through when they pop up because I get a couple extra pennies for that. Pick something up from my web store if you can, spritzbyfritz.com, stickers, t-shirts, mugs, DVDs, all sorts of fun stuff that everybody has. I've got my own. And to be the king of cool, you can become a Patreon member, patreon.com/spritzbyfritz. And if you remember, you got to see this video a couple of days before everybody else. So that's something special. And every now and again, I pinstripe something or I find something cool, and I just pick somebody's name out of a bucket because I'm a nice guy and I ship it off to them. But you got to be a Patreon member for that to happen. So I guess that's it. Again, as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys taking time out of the day to be here with me and do this crazy stuff. And I'll see you next episode with the Indian Larry Chopper project, and we'll go after that transmission tower. Until then, stay safe out there.